Another thing that Powerblanket can do is we can cover your instruments with heated boxes. We can actually cover the transmitter head or the actual instrument itself. If you'll notice in these pictures right here, you've got level controllers on the side of the tank that contain liquid in them. We can build a box that's a rectangular box that goes right around the level indicators with a peak window on it. And as you can see on this skid, the current example, there's actually heat trace on the outside of the insulation, completely ineffective and hard to replace. Customers do this all the time in desperation and trying to keep things running, and they'll wrap something around it just to keep it warm. In this case, the heat trace is touching insulation, not even touching the pipe. So it's almost completely inefficient. We can also heat your valves completely with the entire thing wrapping around the valve and the actuator itself, or we can do separately just the actuator and just the valve. So in power plants and other industrial plants alike, there are a lot of times instrumentation that are exposed to the elements, such as this drum level indicator. When these freeze up, they can't read the level on the vessel. In this case, in a power plant, they don't know how much water is available to make steam for a turbine. So they have to shut the whole plant down. All you have to do is either put a blanket around this and heat it, or have a way of keeping the entire system out of the elements. The best solution for this application is a power blanket wrapped around the level indicator with a window that you can see the level on. This is a transmitter head used for a lot of different applications in a lot of different plants. In an industrial plant, they're used to measure a variety of different processes, but if they're not covered and kept warm, they don't work properly. And if they're heated, they do work properly. Transmitter warmers by Powerblanket are the best solution for keeping these transmitters at the right temperature. They can be run on 120, 208, or 240 volts AC, and can easily run on any breaker circuit that you have available. Previously, we had talked about what they are, and that if they get cold, they don't function properly. So what we have here is a solution that's pretty common. Put a box around it, put a heater in the box. Except those heaters don't last very long. They're heating air, and they're just working as hard as they can. So they're notorious for going out and having a cold box with a cold instrument inside of it. Another solution customers come up with is they just put a tent around their instruments. It could be a tarp, a shower curtain. They build scaffolding. Here you can see a pretty elaborate ring shower type system around these. They'll put them around pumps and valves and pipe bodies. They'll do all kinds of things. And then they'll shove a bunch of light bulbs in there or bullet heaters. And it doesn't really work very well because those tarps wear out over time. The challenge with this application is you're actually just heating air. You're not actually trying to heat the instrument head. With a Powerblanket solution, you're actually contacting the surface of the transmitter or the valve or the pump body. In this case, there's going to be a failure. It's going to get too cold, and light bulbs and bullet heaters don't work very well for this application. Heat trace has always been a great solution. It's been around for over 70 years in the same form that it's used today. And insulation blankets have been around for a long time as well. These insulation blankets are in every plant you've ever seen where people want to keep things touch safe for OSHA purposes, or if they want to keep minimize their losses, but it doesn't have any heat in it. So you have to put heat trace inside of it. It's very difficult to get the heat trace around the flange pair, around the instrument or whatever. So if you can imagine this plus electric heat trace got together, they would create something like this. Powerblanket blanket heater that has integrated heat on the inside of the blanket, can run on 120 to 240 volts AC, can have built-in temperature protection if your instrument is sensitive to a high temperature. It's a great solution. It's an all-in-one solution out of the box that'll keep your transmitters, pumps, and valves warm. When you see these in a plant, they always have to be removed in order to do maintenance on valves or instruments. And where do they usually end up? On the ground. If you have one of these attached to your valve or your instrument, when they take it off, it's going to be dangling by a cord. There's probably a better chance it's going to get put back on. Power blankets can be made in any shape or size you can imagine. If you can get us a drawing, a photo, or let us come out on site and measure your application, we can make it fit for you. These power blankets can be made to fit right onto your instrument or your valve or your pump and conduct the heat directly into the product versus just trying to heat a big open space of air.